Our next segment. And first up, I'm going to be inviting Mr. Rajiv Dubey, Editor-in-Chief, to also introduce a special guest this evening who's joining us virtually to address how young entrepreneurs can contribute to India's growth story. I'm going to request Mr. Rajiv Dubey to introduce our special guest.
Thank you so much. It is my honor to invite a seasoned administrator, a 5-term member of parliament, a leader who's driving India's drone revolution and is accelerating the growth of India's aviation. You would have guessed it. It's the energetic and transformative Mr. Jyotiraditya Scindia, the Union Minister of Civil Aviation and Steel. In his previous tenures as Central Minister, Mr. Scindia, as Minister of State and Telecommunications, Posts and IT, initiated the transformational Project Arrow that modernized the Indian post offices through new branding and IT-enabled procedures. As Minister of State for Commerce and Industry, he successfully brought down transaction costs in Indian exports at various levels, right from production to the end consumer. The establishment of a unified transmission grid network, One Nation, One Grid, with 6 Sigma reliability happened during his tenure as Minister of Power, Independent Charge. As economics graduate from Harvard and an MBA from Stanford, Mr. Scindia has worked at the United Nations and as an investment banker at Morgan Stanley and Merrill Lynch. It is my privilege to invite Sri Jyotiraditya Scindia, Union Minister of Civil Aviation and Steel, to deliver a special virtual address on how young entrepreneurs can contribute to India's growth story.
Thank you, Rajiv, and to all the young entrepreneurs out there at this wonderful function of Fortune's 40 under 40. I really deem it a privilege and an honor to be amongst all of you today. I wish I could have been there physically with you, but I am currently in Kolkata on a Lok Sabha tour, and thereby kindly excuse my inability to be present there. But this is what technology does. This is what solutions provide. This is what opportunities provide, and these are segues to new ways of interacting with each other, new ways of connecting with each other in the modern world. So it's a great pleasure to be amongst all of you at this event. Rajiv ji reminds me a lot of my days at both university and at business school, where the ability to ignite minds through opportunity is prevalent and paramount in everyone's thought processes. A lot of these environs, such as business schools, universities, are really the hotbeds of provision of new solutions for the world. And that's where a lot of the innovation happens. And from there, grow new ideas, grow new businesses. And I think much is the same in India. I think our entrepreneurial spirit has really been unleashed in the last 5 to 8 years here. And mind you that this is an environment of wherein our MSMEs and startups have in a way experienced what I call the VUCA factor, in terms of VUCA, the volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. In that environment, you have seen the unleashing of entrepreneurial spirit in India, which goes to show the capability of our country. 130 crore people, of which 70% are below the age of 35. You're talking about close to 90 crore people, 900 million people. That's almost 2.5 to 3 times the population of the US, and 1.5 times the population of combined Europe. Uh, and that's the entrepreneurship capability that really gets unleashed in India. Um, we've seen some of this also happen, as I mentioned, through COVID, where a country with the prime minister's initiative, his assistance, his directive, his amplification, you've seen a country that has, through history, been importing vaccines, be it smallpox or
Recording in progress.
be it the BCG vaccination or others. And for the first time in India's age-old history, you've seen innovation at a scale of rapidity that you've probably never seen before. In a country that used to import vaccines, today manufactured through COVID period to indigenous vaccines and became an exporter of vaccines. That to me is really the hallmark of our capability in very stressed out times. And today, India has emerged very strongly as the pharma capital of the world, not only in terms of producing generic drugs, but really as a center of innovation. Um, and I think that also goes to show that if you combine that capability of innovation on the pharmaceutical front, all of that with the Silicon Valley in India, being based in South India, which is really the hub of innovation and the residence of entrepreneurial talent, you have seen that from 2014 onwards, with the Prime Minister's imperatives in terms of startups and providing new opportunities and getting the ecosystem in place, if you will, for India really to leapfrog and attain takeoff stage. You've seen from just a few startups, India producing close to about 28,000 startups now, of which over 100 are unicorns. And also, mind you, the fact that a lot of these startups are not coming from the typical metro cities, but they are really coming from tier two, tier three cities. And that really tells you the story of India's entrepreneurship capability. But as I said to you, that what's very important is the setting up of the ecosystem, and I think that has been painstakingly woven by the Prime Minister. If I use a handloom phrase, which is the Tana and the Bana, the weave and the weft, the warp and the weft, if you will, over the last 8 years through GST, the IBC code, taking away antiquated laws, bringing in a new precursors that will aid innovation and further innovation. That has led to this environment coming to fold. And I think a great example, as you mentioned in your um, opening remarks, is the area of drones. And hitherto, until a year ago, a non existent industry in India today has the ability to power itself to become the global drone hub by 2030. And the reason why we believe that that's really possible and it's in the realm of reality is because I believe that for any successful enterprise to take hold in any country, you really require a tripod with three legs. The first is really effective policy making. And we have shown that through the drone policy, where we got rid of the antiquated laws that were put in place in March 2021, when we came out with the new policy within 8 months in August of 2021, where we did away with the multifarious permissions that are required, the number of fees that are required, brought the permissions down from 25 to 5, brought the fee structure down from 72 to 4, and really paved a way for entrepreneurship to flower. A month after that, we put in place the airspace map, where we mapped the whole country in a period of a month. And I had committed that we'll do it in a month, where with 36 state governments and union territories, as well as with the central government, we mapped out the whole country in terms of red zones, green zones, and yellow zones, where drones can fly with freedom in the green zone, with some restrictions in the yellow zone, and the red zone where they're not permitted to fly. And we limited those red zones just to about 2 to 3% of India, just like other developed countries have done. And this has led to a tremendous amount of investment coming into the space. So the number one leg on the tripod is policy. The second leg on the tripod is incentive. And we brought about a PLI scheme, a productivity linked incentive scheme, within 1 month of the new drone policy, which really looked at giving a new impetus for drone manufacturing and drone component manufacturing, both. An industry which at that point of time was in its nascency of 60 crores. We put in place an incentive scheme over 3 years of 120 crores, so 2x the size of the industry. And I'm glad to report to you today that within 6 months of doing that, the industry has grown from a small 60 crore number to already 400 crores. You've got venture capital funds coming in investing in drone startups. You've got great firms from the Valley looking at new investments here. You've got startups coming up left, right, and center, both for manufacturing as well as for services. The third leg for any successful industry to take off is creation of demand. And the government again has come in very strongly and created that platform by getting 12 line ministries to do all of their work using drones. So, for example, the Agriculture Ministry has put in place a scheme for pushing in pesticide spraying in all farms through drones. An incentivized scheme, putting seeds in the ground through drones. The Power Ministry is checking up on transmission lines using drones. The Rural Development Ministry is using Swamitwa to really give empowerment in rural India in terms of land holding records to individuals by doing the cadastral surveys through drones. The Mines Ministry is looking at all shafts and processing through drones. So we've got 12 line ministries actually using drones from the point of view of GOI. And so you've got the three tripods, the three legs of the tripod in place: the policy perspective, the incentive perspective, as well as the demand creation perspective. And I think that it's an example for you how entrepreneurs whose culture is really to take advantage of opportunities or disconnects in a market pipeline, and to be able to provide value. The three things that they look at is for innovation, the impact of that innovation, and thirdly, really indigenization. And I think all those three things come together to provide India as a great opportunity. Now, the one thing that I would very much urge our entrepreneurs to look at is really collaboration in addition to competition as they go forward. Because I also believe that in a marketplace, as companies do come together to suss out that market opportunity, private sector or public sector, coming together, collaborating, sharing best practices also leads to tremendous growth opportunities. So I believe that we in India stand at a cusp today. We have our voice is heard, our voice is valued in the world. Our macroeconomic situation is improving by the day. The very fact that we are, for example, my other portfolio, the second largest producer of steel in the world, great opportunities in India, a hyper digitalized economy, a growing market across all spectrums. So I think that I believe that our entrepreneurs, really, the time for all of you is now. The time is in India. And I believe that we are very well poised to produce new opportunities in India. I'd like to congratulate all of you this evening. Wish you all the very best and more power to your elbow so that you can power India in the days to come. Thank you very much for having me.